Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have not already subscribed it, please do subscribe it. The link for the channel is already given, and do press the bell icon so that you get all the notifications when I upload a new video. Today's video we are going to talk about Azure Data Factory. It's one of the important services, a serverless function within Azure framework, and it's used for orchestration tools. We'll see how we could copy a file from one folder to another folder within the storage accounts. So that's what we are going to see. And the copy file from one folder to another storage accounts could be done by multiple ways. We could use it with the logic apps, but we would use here in this video as a Azure Data Factory, which acts as an orchestration tool. It could be used for various purposes like copy data, get data from HTTP, copy artifacts from one place to another, and so on. The Azure Data Factory also seamlessly integrates with many services like Azure Storage Accounts, Azure SQL, Azure Synapse, Databricks, and other services. So let's see what we are going to do in this video in the form of a visual where we would have a storage account within Azure. The storage account has a container which is like a data container, and within that container we'll have a products.csv. So I'll actually show you that once we move on to the practical stuff. And we are going to move this products.csv file, rather copy that CSV file through the Azure Data Factory. The Azure Data Factory would be able to read that file, and then probably this file is going to be put into the same Azure storage account, but into a different folder. Might be an output which I have, and we'll just copy the products.csv from a source to a destination. So it's just like creating a copy of one file and moving it to another. You could also copy the contents of this file and then create it into, let's say, store it into a table within Azure SQL or Synapse or anywhere. But this is a simple demonstration of copying the whole file from one place to another. So let's see how we could practically do this stuff on Azure Portal. I'm assuming you have already some information with Azure, working with Azure Portal. You have a subscription or a free tier account which you are using. So stay tuned and let's get started. So friends, here I am into my Azure Portal, that is portal.azure.com. And if you see, I have a resource group where I've created two resources. One is the Data Factory and one is the storage account. So we'll be using the storage account, and within the containers, my source container would be the data from where I'll be using this product.csv. So if I click on products.csv and if I try to view or edit it, this is a very small file with 3 records: ID, product ID, and some product name. And what we are going to do here is we'll be actually using the Azure Data Factory to copy this stuff from the data container to the output container. So if you see the output container, I don't have right now. So, but we'll try to copy that stuff, whole file, from the data to the output, and that to the product.csv. So for that, we need to go back to the resource group, and I can go on to my Data Factory, and I could launch my studio, Azure Data Studio, which I could use to kind of create pipelines or certain other activities. Now, the first thing which we need to do here is we'll be specifying, we could use from here also, but I'm just going to use it from the ingest. So we could just copy the data at scale from once on our schedule. So I'll just use the ingest. You could use this copy task as run once now, or you could schedule it, or you could use it a tumbling window, like different intervals, very much kind of a customized. So I'll just use run once, and I just need to use a connection out here. Though I have a Azure storage connection out here, but I'll be my source type all, and then I'll use a connection. So let me build up a new Azure blob storage connection, and then I'll say a new connection out here. So let's say this is for Azure Storage account com. This is for demo purposes, and I'm just gonna keep everything account authentication type as account key. You could use SaaS URI or a system managed identity, which is beyond the scope of this video, so we'll just try to keep it as account key. Then the Azure subscription, I'm running it with this storage account name, that's my storage account, and to a particular file path. So you want to say, let's say data was my container, from where I'm gonna pick that up, and I'll say test connection. So just in order to make sure that my connection works. So yes, the connection is successful. I'm just gonna create that. So the connection is created. So the source type is Azure Blob Storage, connection is account, this is the one which we created, and then the file or the folder which you want to pick it up. So let's say I want to go on to the data folder, and then I want to pick up the product.csv. Okay, so data/product.csv. I don't want to use recursively because it just searches for subfolders within that folder. So we just want to keep only one particular file, and let's go on to the next. And here it asks us for different things like what is the delimited text, because it's a comma separated file, CSV file. The row delimiter, I'm gonna use line feed, and the first row is the header, because if you see I have ID, product ID, and the first row is definitely the header. So I just want to keep same one, and I move on to the next. So now the second thing what you need to give is the destination type. So the destination is where you want to exactly store the data or copy the data into. And in our case, it's again the Azure Storage Blob. So because we were trying from a data container to an output container, so we'll just use Storage Blob. Connection, I can just use the same connection which I created. And then the folder path, I could just browse and say output. So where I'm going to put that file out. And do you want the file name? Yes, I want the file name to be product.csv. I just keep the other options as same. Next. Delimited text for the destination one, so it's exactly the same one. Add header to the file. This is if you just go on to okay, let's try without that also, and see we don't need that because we are reading that. So let's see without the header how it does that, and then we'll just keep the things simple, move on to the next. Now it's asking me to name this pipeline which it is going to create. So I'll say copy CSV file from one folder to another, something like this. And this one very important thing, enable staging. Staging is something like which the Azure Data Factory would use to do some temporary operations or anything, just like it's a temporary kind of a folder for it to do certain tasks or certain operations. So I'm just gonna select that and say the Azure Storage Account demo and the storage path for that. I'm just gonna give this RKV storage refs. This is another container. Okay, I'll just keep it that way, and then everything looks fine to me. I'll just say next, and then we'll just go with, it tells you the summary, Azure Storage Blob to the Azure Storage Blob, and this is how you're going to move it from which place to another and everything. And let's try that out. Click on next. So when you click on next, it starts validating certain things and gives you whether it is able to create it or not. So yes, it has succeeded almost in all the cases, creating data sets, creating pipelines, and running the pipeline. So now if you finish that, and let's go back to the Azure Storage Account. So in the storage account, if we see, and we go back to the containers, so data was our the source container where the product.csv was there. So we'll go back, and then we have the output container. So if you see product.csv is copied out here, you click on that, and if you say view and edit, so you see that particular information is not added because we just skipped that header as one of the tick marks during our copy process. So it does create the CSV for us, and then there's another CSV out there we could just use to create another copy of the same, and it does work in the same way. So I hope, guys, this would be something that is useful for you to just like a simple copy operation from one place to another, and you could use Data Factory to do the same. I'll be back with more videos soon, so stay tuned and have a good one. Thank you.